What's up everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about my Arcade1up Killer Instinct cab. We're going to be doing an in-depth overview of it.
Oh, this is heavy.
And talking about some of the mods that I did, specifically one, which really enhanced the playability and experience of this arcade cabinet. We're also going to be taking a look at some of the more recent mods that I've done to my arcade cabinet, changes, and some of the things that I really feel like enhance my experience with these Arcade1up cabs. So let's go.
Awesome combo!
This is one of those games where I particularly have to immediately change out the joysticks and buttons. Now, consequently, the joysticks that they came with weren't that bad, but IL sticks are my absolute favorite and I love the way they feel. The throw is perfect and everything about them just feels arcade and comfortable. If you don't want to deal with having to mod the plastic on the IL sticks, you could go with a Matchstick Plus. These things are solid pieces of gear and switchable from 4-way to 8-way. Here's a little size comparison just so you guys can see what you're looking at. You may have to change the placement of where you drill your holes for the mag stick, but it's not a big deal. Here's some gameplay with the IL sticks. Now again, the feel and throw of these sticks is tight and solid. The clicking of the joystick isn't too loud and the spring gives a nice solid response, keeping everything tight. The timing, look, and feel of Killer Instinct 1, 2, and Battletoads, and the fact that they even give you the extra options of the console versions of Battletoads, is a most excellent experience. Code Mystics did a great job with this. I think the latency, if it is off, it's barely off. Especially with these joystick and button upgrades, it makes a massive difference. Every time I get on here to play, everything feels smooth and steady. It's a really solid experience. The speakers aren't great, but they're definitely a step up from like the standard tinny sound. They have a bassy sound to them. The overall look of the cabinet is nice. My biggest complaint is just that we didn't get that midway style control deck. I'm really bummed about that. And the marquee. But those are the only two things that aesthetically aren't pleasing and don't give you as much space. Everything else looks and feels great. Now let's take a look at the select menu and some of the options. You've got Killer Instinct 2, Battletoads, and the console versions. And your menu options are really good. Once we get in closer, you can see that there's a scan lines, smoothing effect, and you have the options of attract mode, display warnings, and when you get into Killer Instinct 1, you even have the ability to choose between the ROM version, which is a really neat feature. And I personally love scan lines with smoothing on because it really does give it a nice CRT effect. In my opinion, I really feel like it looks good. Now, my marquee is off right now because I ordered another one. The one that it does come with is slightly washed out. This stool is included with it and ties everything together. It's simple, goes with the artwork on the arcade cabinet, and makes it the complete package. If you are a fan of the Killer Instinct series, I would highly recommend this. I played it for hours and hours in the arcade and I absolutely love it. This is a nice complete package, and with the recent price drop, it's definitely worth it for $4.99. Okay, let's check out some of my other mods that I have. One of the first ones, and definitely one of the best, especially if you're a fan of the old Star Wars arcade, is the GRS Star Wars yoke from Thundersticks T-Sticks. This thing really gives you the feel of the original arcade experience. It's heavy, it feels strong, and the balance that you have on screen is just like the arcade. It has that steady, flowy feeling. I don't even know exactly how to put it into words other than you get what you pay for. This is a great piece of gear, and I would highly, highly recommend it to any Star Wars enthusiast. Glenn is a genius and does great work. Moving on to Terminator 2, I did black trim on the marquee, painted my guns a metallic flake, and hid the cords. The metallic flake really gives the guns a nice touch. Street Fighter 2, I did the control panel riser, swapped out my buttons, put different springs and octagonal gates. I also added a 4-inch booster, which puts this thing at the perfect height for me, giving you a really nice overall experience. My Simpsons cab got the Zabbos marquee topper and the T-Sticks trackball, which is LED, and you can actually change the color of it. I like this color, it goes really well. And this thing works beautifully. My MVSX doesn't have any real hard mods to it. It's got all the Unico gear on it and the riser, which makes a huge difference. And it's got a USB stick in the back running the high-low stick. Main thing done on the Class of 81 is I just replaced the marquee with Translite film. More 4-inch boosters. Now here's a really good one. This is a stick-on T molding, basically. It's 1/2 inch. I put a picture of it up there so that you guys can see where to get it from, and it's about $15 a roll. It really makes these cabs look ace, and it's very flexible and easy to manipulate. I put it on my Ridge Racer, Tron, and it's eventually going to go on my Killer Instinct as well. So earlier we talked about IL joysticks, and here's another quick clip just showing where I had to cut and how much I had to cut off in order to make these fit on the Arcade1up stock control panel. You're either going to have to use an electric saw, a Dremel, or a pipe saw. It's not that difficult, but it is extra work to get these to fit properly. And then you have to seat them with the right size screws. But they look absolutely phenomenal, and they give you such a more premium experience when you're playing these fighting games. Last but not least is my modded Big Blue. This is probably my favorite cabinet, at least out of the fighting games. It looks beautiful, and it runs the Arcade1up PCBA for X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Online play capable, and it's got a custom control deck with the Marvel sticker set on it. Marvel vs. Capcom is the current marquee in there, but I do also have a Marvel Superheroes marquee and that PCBA. I've got a whole video on that cab if you want to go check it out. Now, just taking a little walk through here so you guys can kind of see everything in action, and talking about some of the issues that I've dealt with. I did have to replace my Dragon Slayer speaker. Arcade1up was quick to respond and sent me out a new one, fixed the problem right away. Everything else has been relatively good. I haven't had any issues or quality problems. Now, while I think that the controls that came with Ridge Racer are actually pretty solid, I wouldn't mind picking up an aftermarket steering wheel from T-Sticks just to give it that. Tron is another one of my favorite cabs, and it's got a great look and feel to it. I've got that Tulsa Arcade S panel mod, which gives it that extra zing. Star Wars, Terminator, Big Blue, we talked about all those. Essential upgrades, joysticks, flight yoke, and in some cases marquees. Overall, I'm really happy with where my collection is at right now. I think in the future, the two options I'm really going to be looking at are the Shinku Hadouken and Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Now, while I do have a few questions about those cabs, I think that their potentiality is great, and Arcade1up's quality is only getting better with every new cab that they release. While these cabs aren't perfect, and they'll likely never live up to anyone's expectation of them mimicking the arcade machines perfectly. They are full of potential, and they're really an amazing achievement when you think about where they've taken us as far as home arcades.
Thanks for watching. I hope you got something valuable out of this, and until next time, I'll see you then.